All right, we're going? Yeah, we're going. Okay. I'm Archibald Whizbang.
And I'm Buddy Pictorius.
Okay. And calling America. Um, I say it like that because there are some issues involved. I'm sure a lot of people have noticed that they go the Podbean or they get it through the iTunes. Where's Calling America? What happened? The Slovak Republic found an issue with my podcast and told Podbean he's using our music without asking for rights. So Podbean has to take it down. And I don't blame Podbean for that. But emails have been sent. The episode in question, which I think was that Rock and Roll is King cover medley that I made that used a snippet of a band from Slavic Yugoslavia. I don't know if they're the same thing or same place.
No, Czechoslovakia.
Yeah. So it's been taken down. It's not a big loss. You can still find it on YouTube. On our YouTube channel, the Electric Light Orchestra podcast. It's still there.
But we're hoping though is that the rest of the podcast will be back up soon.
Yeah. So Podbean says, it usually takes a couple days to get your page back up. So I did it this morning and I wrote them and said, hey, I took it down. So hopefully we'll see what happens. I think it's kind of amusing, actually.
Since they don't own rights to that song.
Yeah.
Whoever did the cover of it does not own the rights to Rock and Roll is King.
Then how does it work then if somebody does a cover song? I know they get some money from it.
They may have done a specific translation that they copyrighted the translation.
Maybe that was it, because it was not in English.
Okay, so if they translate it into Slovak, then it is. Then they probably do have a copyright on the translation that they did.
Okay.
Yeah, because then they're not using Jeff Lynne's actual lyrics.
Yeah, I see.
Music, though,
would
still be under his copyright.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be the same. Just say if you decided that you were going to do a Weird Al Yankovic song, and you were going to put it up as your own, and it was "Eat It."
Yeah.
And look what I just wrote.
Yeah.
You're going to have the estate of Michael Jackson and Mr. Yankovic very, very, very unhappy with you.
Yeah.
Because both of them own parts of that song. So
yeah. I think it's kind of funny to me, annoying, but amusing. I've been living in fear of the moment when whoever owns the E.L.O. rights, Sony or Jeff Lynne, I don't know exactly who owns them, coming down on us, and that's what kills it. I've used snippets of Beatles songs. They don't like that. The Beatles will, even snippets, right. YouTube will come down on you and say, that video is not going up. I've done a fair use dispute with YouTube, and I think they're back up. I haven't checked. The ones that did use Beatles snippets. So many bigger people, even on my other podcast, Elvis and Ricky Nelson and Chuck Berry and Ray Charles and other, nothing. That podcast is still going. But a snippet from a band from the polka band from the Slovakian Republic covering an E.L.O. song, that's what took us down. But
exactly. I think after all this time, I think we should probably assume, I don't know, does Jeff Lynne own his own stuff now, or is it still owned by Sony?
See, I don't know exactly who owns it. I'm thinking at this point, obviously somebody who owns this or whatever knows about it. Because
right. I know. I'm pretty sure it's Jeff Lynne, because everything that's on Vivo for Electric Light Orchestra, for the audio and the videos and everything, refers back to Electric Light Orchestra rather than Sony Music, as far as I can tell.
Right.
You probably also check the right holders on the demonetization notification on YouTube, because I'm pretty sure he owns most of his own music.
He's a smart guy. I would think he would too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure that it's known what we're doing after all this time. And if he wanted it down, it would come down.
Yeah, I mean, especially after I set up the YouTube channel just for the podcast, because it was a couple weeks where every day I was loading up a huge chunk, a huge bucket of episodes every day, and I would get that copyright notice. It's you're not getting any money from it, but we're still gonna let you post this, and whatever money you get from advertising goes to the copyright holders. So he's got to
Right.
know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I found out that there's a big difference there. There's a lot of people that are more than happy to have you use their stuff
Hmm.
because they're saying, okay, well, as long as we get the rights for it,
Yeah.
which 100% fine with that.
Yeah. No, I'm
And
good
then
with
you got
that.
somebody like Wendy Carlos. Nobody can hear my music ever.
Never.
Never. You post up one thing that she didn't even compose
Yeah.
originally, air on a G string, because her arrangement is copyrighted for her.
Yeah.
And you get a copyright strike. Only copyright strike I've gotten from YouTube after all the stuff that I put up there.
Mhm.
Keep in mind, whenever I put up something, it's because it doesn't exist on YouTube, and I'm trying to get people to hear it and promote it.
Yeah. Yeah.
As not as my original material, but so somebody can actually hear this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And but nope.
Mm.
I guess she wants to keep all of her stuff buried someplace in her backyard. So
Yeah.
nobody can ever hear it again.
Yeah.
AC/DC were the same way forever, but luckily they've loosened up on that.
Yeah. So Jeff Lynne, if you're aware, if you're watching, Bevan, anybody from E.L.O., call the telephone line voicemail 623-850-3375 and leave us a message. Tell us what you think of the podcast, even if you hate it. Although I think if you hated it, we wouldn't still be doing it. Oh, we'd be doing it underground, I think. Emailing episodes to listeners.
And wanker is always a fun word to hear in a British accent.
Yeah.
So there's another word that we will bleep it, that you guys use a lot, that we will bleep out if you say it to us, and because it has a lot stronger connotation in the United States, remember? So
yeah, Jeff, you live in LA now. It's the area code for the voicemail is a Phoenix area code, so it's not like it's going to cost you a lot of money. And even still, you could probably afford it. And you only got 3 minutes
you call
before.
on your cell phone, you don't get charged.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
And you only got 3 minutes before Google Voice cuts you off. So try to keep your rant, your hate, rage, or your love under 3 minutes. Yeah. But other than that, if you wanted to make a hefty donation, and although I don't know why you'd want to pay us to do it since we've been doing it for free for over 2 years. So anyway, we should get on to comments.
Anyway, yeah, $1 million donation. Yeah, that's always
absolutely, Jeff. $1 million. That'd be great. Bevan,
yep.
Together with the other boys in E.L.O., pool your money together. There's been like what 100.
I'll let Eric Paul handle that. I'll worry about the taxes on that.
There's been what 150 members of E.L.O. If all of you just who are still alive, just pool your money together, give us $1 million. That'd be great. And, love it.
Yep.
Okay. Calling America comments.
Okay. Mark Jealous says, my only complaint about this track was that it didn't do much better on the charts. Yeah, I agree.
I agree. But also it did do better than Rock and Roll is King. I remember when Calling America came out, and I hope it makes the 40, because I know what the conditions were like in the mid 80s for E.L.O. I'm in high school. Who's your favorite band? Electric Light Orchestra. You like classical music? So I knew the conditions weren't ripe for a big hit from E.L.O. And considering what happened with Stranger and Four Little Diamonds, but I was just full of joy when it hit the top 40, and I hoped, please do better than Rock and Roll is King. It'd be great if it outdoes that, and it did by 1 point, and then it sunk down, and that was it. Jib Khan, I agree with you guys on Calling America. I've loved it from the first time I heard those filtered a cappella Jeff Lynne vocal stacks in the intro. It's such a perfect pop single that it actually sounds like that it was the original intent. I'm just stumped that it didn't get higher in the charts. I laughed so hard at Troy's comments on this one. Oh, good. See, Troy's got some fans. It's just
Yeah.
it's just the way it always is. The people who hate are the much louder than the people who love. So I've only gotten a couple of complaints from Troy out of, every week per episode. It's 400 listens when a new episode drops. So a couple out of 400, that's pretty good.
Yeah. You get more complaints over the co-host.
Yeah.
Richard Davies says, great to see it on the familiar Jet label instead of the Epic one. Just ordered a German copy of Balance of Power and that single on Jet labels.
Yeah, I thought the Jet label stopped with Stranger. I didn't know there were still some parts of the world where E.L.O. was still on Jet after Secret Messages.
Yeah, it was on CBS Associated in the US on for Balance of Power and the singles.
Yeah. Jib Khan, I agree with you guys on Calling America. I just
Didn't you read
read
that one?
that. I just read that.
Yeah, I had to go back to Richard Davies because you didn't say who was supposed to read that one.
Because nobody was supposed to read that, and that was slipped in there accidentally. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So you get MJ Folds.
Okay. So what you're saying is, oops, it slipped.
Yeah, oops, it slipped.
Okay.
That doesn't
Thanks for
fly in
saying.
the HR meetings, though.
MJ Fold says, thanks for the link. I went over to Podbean and was like, huh? Where's my show? Hope the gremlins are banished soon. Anywho, I'm so glad you both love this song. This is such a favorite of mine. It was the only song representing Balance of Power on the Double Blue Best of compilation that my parents owned. I love everything about it. The words, the music, Jeff's harmonies are on top form. Some great do-do-do-do-do's going on. After that amazing guitar solo, I loved his little high-pitched noodly keyboard riff that goes on behind the main melody. I could imagine that being used on an old-fashioned scrolling computer game. That electronic timpani to emphasize the beginning of each chorus line. Damn, there are so many bits I love, which makes the whole thing amazing. This all begs the question, why do you never play it live? Surely in America it would go down super well. I even looked up old promos from back in the day, and they still never seem to play it live. Just mime it. Come on, Jeff. It's not like we're asking you to play the bouncer or some obscure B-side. P.S. Also, Jeff, play the bouncer. Well, probably the reason they don't play it live is because they never cared about it. Unfortunately, it is a really good song. I wouldn't be surprised if it shows up on a live set at some point.
I hope so.
Probably arranged for a lot more instrumentation than what's on the single, though.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think pretty much why, tours by experienced rockers. I didn't want to say old. People who've been around for a long time, they'll toss a few crumbs out there. Here's something from the new album. But for the most part, when you've got a long discography and a lot of hits, it's pretty much a greatest hits tour. And as much as we all love Calling America, it's not, one of those songs where people think Electric Light Orchestra. It's not one of those songs that got much if any airplay after it left the charts in 86. So it doesn't make the greatest hits, the ones that people remember, like Turn to Stone or Don't Bring Me Down or Telephone Line, or anything from that 1974 to 1980 81ish era. I mean, I know he's played Secret Messages and a couple of things from the album Secret Messages on tour, but for the most part, the first three and the last three I mean, he'll play. I see "Hold On Tight," but I don't really see him playing "The Way Life's Meant to Be." Oh, and he's played Twilight. All right, I take it back about time. He's played some stuff from Twilight, but the first three, the last two albums, they don't really. I mean, you know, it's not the stuff you hear on the oldies or classic rock stations, and I think that's when when you're playing to a huge audience, maybe you'll throw out some obscure track or some hit that has been forgotten outside of the fan bubble. But for the most part, you get 2-3 hours. You can't put everything on there, no matter how great some of your other everything is.
Yeah, I'm surprised that it doesn't get played on some of the oldie stations, considering what a lot of the nostalgic 80s stations tend to think we listened to back then.
Yeah,
I mean, Cure's Love Song and Churches Under the Milky Way both get played more now
yeah,
than they ever
yeah,
did in the 80s. And so why not Calling America? Because Calling America is light years ahead of a lot of the other stuff that was coming out in 86 so
yeah,
that do play.
yeah.
And I mean, yeah, what what was it, Whitney Houston, I Want to Dance with Somebody? That was probably about contemporary or a couple years afterwards or something like that. I don't know. They throw it all in as if the entire decade was one whole
Yeah,
mess.
yeah,
Not understanding that Pat Benatar doesn't sound a bit
yeah.
like Pebbles.
Yeah,
So
and Calling America screams 1986. It sounds mid 80s. It was a hit, so I don't, why
yeah,
probably it's probably just cuz the name. Oh, it's Electric Light Orchestra. People only associate it with the mid 70s to early 80s. After that, yeah, they
but
did
Owner
some
of a
stuff.
Lonely Heart gets played constantly still. I know it was a bigger hit than Calling America,
Yeah,
but
well, it was number 1 for a week or two. So yeah.
exactly. But there's some number one songs from back then that you don't hear at all. So, and a lot of stuff that barely even got the chart. I mean, I Melt With You never even got in the top 40.
No, no, it did not.
So that's one of the signature songs from the 80s now.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. It's programming doofuses. Oh, E.L.O. Doesn't matter.
We're not a 70s station.
Yeah, stuff like that.
Yeah, you don't play you don't understand 70s music when you play it on the 70s station either. So
Yeah, yeah. Anyway, Jib Khan, I so agree. With ELO's present lineup, Calling America would be the dark horse that almost steals the show. So, there you go. More support from Jib about adding it to the concert lineup.
I mean, it just screams for modern redo in concert. To tell you the truth, I mean, with the strings and everything that they've got on
Great.
tour,
Yeah, that'd be great. Oh, I'd love to hear that.
background vocals and all that. Yeah,
And
that
he's got a great band touring with him, so they could sell the hell out of that.
yeah, they could. I mean, it doesn't have to sound like it's from 1986.
No, it doesn't. Could he give it an even bigger sound than it has? So that'd be great.
Exactly. And Tracer Anthony says the unofficial sequel to Telephone Line, perhaps? Following in the footsteps of Hold On Tight and Rock and Roll is King, we are treated a third in the trilogy of standout, enjoyable pop ear candy singles. And even if Hold On Tight and Rock and Roll is King took home the gold and silver star, respectively, Calling America is a solid bronze and demonstrated that even when going through the motions, Lynn is still capable of producing quality pop.
Yeah, it really is. Trevor Raggett, one of the rare tunes on Balance of Power that's an absolute cracker, whether in E.L.O. terms or just as a super catchy song. That's an earworm that's going to be buzzing all around my head all day. The Tornadoes Telstar reference on the guitar solo never struck me before, but I can see how the tone of the guitar and the effects on it could suggest it. And of course, those old classic Joe Meek records would have been among one of the ones Jeff would have been listening to as a late teenager. Joe Meek. Now there's an interesting character. I I wonder how much his British wall of sound production style fed into the big production sound Jeff adopted. There's probably some subliminal stuff going on somewhere. And amusing that E.L.O.'s last album should have a song which sort of evokes the clerical error that led to their first album having different names either side of the Atlantic. I had never thought of that. That is pretty funny. That he's trying to get her and he can't get her, like calling, but there's no answer.
And I wouldn't be surprised if there's a lot of influence from Joe Meek on there because I think his production also influenced a lot of the British psychedelic production going forward
Mm-hmm.
because it kind of showed what you could do in a studio setting. And later on, the Beatles and Pink Floyd and everybody went, oh, okay, well, let's see where we can take it further.
Right.
And well, the Move and Idle Race and everything came out of that same scene. So yeah, I would not be surprised that that influence is still hanging around with Jeff Lynne.
Oh, I'm sure.
So
Yep.
Corey Gomel says, oh, and by the way, who are you calling crackers? That's kidding.
Might have a different meaning in England.
True.
Yeah.
Corey Gomel says, another great or really good song on an album full of really good songs. And yet, to many fans, the sum doesn't add up. It always did for me. Balance of Power was right up there with Paul Simon's Graceland, Billy Joel's The Bridge, and Boston's Third Stage's Best of 1986. Funny you mention Alice Cooper. I understand that you're not a fan. What about Elton John? Because if you are a fan of Elton John, you might want to give Cooper's From the Inside another listen. The album features 3 longtime Elton John associates, lyricist Bernie Taupin, guitarist Davy Johnstone, and bassist Dee Murray. It sounds like an Elton John LP minus Elton. Sure, that's a big minus, but you might be surprised. Just have a listen to the hit single from that LP. The More You Know. Think about the little star going by. And then there's a video for, How You Gonna See Me Now. I don't think From the Inside sounds like an Elton John album. It's a lot harder. I think it was produced by David Foster, which surprised me because David Foster's production is usually more light, like the mid Chicago.
Yeah.
But it's a good album, but it's a lot of it is about Alice Cooper in rehab, which that was after his first stint in rehab. He wrote about all the people he met in there and everything going through it, and then he just went harder on the alcohol until mid '80s and when he cleaned up.
Right.
But no, I am a big Alice Cooper fan, but
I knew there was something I was supposed to do this morning. I didn't get a chance to listen to the song. I do like Elton John. I will give it a try. I'll give it a listen and see how it sounds. Alice Cooper, I just lived in Phoenix for 38 years, and he was like this wonderful god of awesomeness. And I had heard School's Out and 18 and the harder stuff so much. I mean, when I first heard it, I was like, okay, it's not bad. But and then I just heard it so much, it's just, all right, look, it's really not that. I'm just tired of hearing about it. I did discover recently that, what is it, You and Me, his ballad from like 78. I had no idea that was Alice Cooper. I thought it was like David Soul or some other light rock person from the late 70s. And I came across Clones, I don't know, 15 years ago or so, and it's like, oh, hey, I like that. So there are a couple of Alice Cooper songs I've heard that I do like, but from the most of what I've heard, and again, it's not an entire discography, it's a smattering of the hits. I'm not so crazy about him.
Yeah. Well, the late 70s, he got famous. Unfortunately, he got popular for the ballads.
Yeah. Yeah.
After he did Only Women Bleed, then all of a sudden Warner Brothers, especially as he got worse with his alcoholism and his fame started dropping, they basically said, well, keep putting out these ballads. And so you got You and Me and I Never Cry. And then you got How You Gonna See Me Now, which is this one. But this was his last ballad hit, and then Clones barely hit number 40,
Yeah,
and then didn't really have another hit until Poison.
yeah.
Well, actually, he's back. The theme from Jason. I don't think that got into the top 40, but then Poison was what brought him back for the
What I
most
do,
parts.
yeah. What I do like about Alice Cooper is he was always good to Wallace and Ladmo. He didn't get a
Yeah,
big. He didn't get a. He was discovered by Wallace and Ladmo, and he was grateful for that. And he didn't get a big head. And in the very last episode of Wallace and Ladmo, he was just overjoyed that he won a Ladmo bag. So, yeah.
and none of us ever got one.
No,
I
are
be on
so
the
close,
show.
so close. And nobody outside of Phoenix and the rest of this world knows what we're talking about. But yeah,
You can look it up on YouTube though. Wallace and Ladmo. Look it up on YouTube. You'll see why we remember the show so much.
and it's even on YouTube where
Actually,
Wallace and
the parents entertained as well
yeah,
in the morning. So
yes, and it's even on YouTube where Wallace and Ladmo give Alice Cooper the Ladmo bag. So I don't know, type in
yeah.
Ladmo, Alice Cooper, Ladmo bag. It should come up. So yeah, he seems like a great guy. I just was never crazy about a lot of his music. So yeah. So in case Alice is looking for me, I just, you're a nice guy. Just some of your music, it doesn't do it for me. Okay. I think we're done here. We've gone on a very long time, so I think we've wasted enough people's time today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I forget what I call myself, so I'm just gonna go back to Dookie.
Okay. Well, I'm Archibald Whizbang, and next week for Endless Lives, I believe it is.